awestruck Romeo sings a Straits serenade.
It was 4 a.m. in my clock when he first looked at me, with eyes as wide as a football pool. There's a certain sprightliness of early morning start of vacation days, as much as there's a great comfort in holding the bed tightly, ridiculously longer. But that morning, which was yet to be, I couldn't manage either, as I was out past midnight with barefooted Havelock's in-house naturalist to explore the nocturnal life of this island. So it was with palpable relief I reached Kalapathar Beach before the sunrise after a light sleep. It was strange to head for a sea beach with barely enough light on the way to get a sense of the surrounding. We had to believe that there must be a body of water somewhere below the weird line of sky and land, and we were headed for it. Though I didn't fancy overexertion in holiday, I knew that the next few days I may not be able to witness the famed sunrise at Kalapathar, with news of Cyclone Karim emerging over the southern Indian Ocean just when we heaved a sigh of relief with Cyclone Asani leaving Andaman. But can't complain much because his repression over the Andaman Sea support monsoon advancement and help the June to September rain-bearing system known as the lifeblood of India's economy. One of the largest islands of this archipelago, Havelock, was looking more like a ghost village then, containing bones of a carcass like relics of unbeknownst time. There are 7 beaches identified in Havelock which locals refer to by their number rather than their names. There was nobody around this beach number 5 as I was setting up my camera on a tripod for a time-lapse away from the main beach where few fellow travelers were waiting for the sunrise. I tried to look at the sky occasionally to catch a bit of light while fidgeting with my watch, but after a couple of futile attempts, I stopped looking at the time. Just immersed myself in that very moment. Right then, he came out. The other sun. The natural vegetation of Havelock is tropical rainforest, but these islands are situated in the equatorial belt with exposure to marine influences. There's slight chill in the air at this hour, even otherwise the cyclone weather was too confusing for expected mid-May scorch. And just in case you are confused about my one-line attempt at singing in the beginning, let me tell you that I feel an overwhelming urge to sing like nobody's listening when I like a seaside. Kalapathar and its dogs brought it out of me this time, and so no matter how off-key I sounded in front of melodious sea waves, I decided to add the full song here. In this video, I will talk about how you can enjoy this place full throttle along with many lesser known information to make your travel experience captivating. Part 1 and Part 2 are somewhat dependent in the sense that it will make more sense when you watch Part 2 if you have already warmed up with the delectable joy of being intimate with Kalapathar's nooks and crannies, along with life of island dogs as I am going to present now in this video. In Part 2, I will share how best you can experience sunrise at Kalapathar in terms of tips, while I have shared my sunrise experience in this Part 1. Forget about being a professional. Even if you are not a serious photography enthusiast like me, you will benefit from watching this video since I made it very easy for you to click beautiful sunrise landscape on beach from anywhere with mention of specific phone camera settings and tricks for both Android and iOS. However, my tips are not just photography related, some of them are also related to the in-depth nuances of the specific location. But before you get there, let's first talk about what happened when the sea ignored my impatient shrug and continued to pour from the bottom of its darkness. Under this velvet starlit sky, some dark branches were curling and swaying in the distance, and minus the chromatic blue swirls, Kalapathar's seascape was looking like Van Gogh's most celebrated work. He painted the Starry Night during his 12-month stay in an asylum in France, several months after suffering a mental breakdown in which he severed a part of his ear by a razor. Rounding a sudden bend, the coastline here turned into a wide arc, revealing a vast expanse of ocean, and the white sand at this hour looked like the artist's self-portrait with bandaged ear. The sheen of emerald coat of Andaman Sea with the azure sky on head and the dead corals on his forehead like the crown jewel of Havelock. Metaphorically or even otherwise, Kalapathar in low tides exposes it all. The Perfect Planet, narrated by Sir David Attenborough, and similar other nature documentaries that we see are beautiful and, dare I say, false. Pristine sweeping shots over rainforests full of colorful birds, vibrant coral reefs, untouched swaths of open grasslands with every factory smoke, dingy road, every piece of garbage, and unless it's a third world, signs of poverty carefully concealed and expertly cropped. No wonder so many people don't understand how bad it is out there. Even my footage occasionally is heavily edited. But that's mostly for underwater clarity. In Ritchie's archipelago, or as a matter of fact, in any islands in Andaman, you don't need to touch up your footage much if you get the basic composition right. However, post-processing beyond the regular parametric adjustments are now part and parcel of serious photography and video creation. But while Kalapathar and by and large Havelock appeared undefiled during my visit, I just don't want to paint only a rosy picture and dilute the crisis of marine ecosystem. And yes, when I will make videos on pollution in Andaman, I will show the extent of garbage there, mostly left by visitors like us. I have added a link of my video on coral bleaching at the end of this, and in case you haven't gotten to that yet, you can check that out after watching this. Yakamoz. I recently learned this Turkish word thanks to a Netflix series, Yakamoz S245. On Kalapathar's water, I was seeing the reflection of moon that was 13.68 days old and 96.74% illuminated. The moon was in waxing gibbous phase, and the supermoon is on the cards next day. Standing on one of the remotest spots on this planet, one couldn't figure out whether moonlight was dancing on the crest of waves or on the glistening top of half submerged rocks. There are some decent places with thatched roof for idle horizon and wave gazing, but don't sit and wait there for sunrise. Why? I will come to that. It's best to go there for cover once sun is properly out and you are ready for breakfast from the beach shacks. Options are limited in the early hours, but tea, coffee, and some food are available to get your system up and running. Is it healthy to eat from these places? Well, if your system is not too sensitive and you are not too finicky, yes. Mango chaat is quite popular in shacks at Kalapathar Beach entrance, but I will share with you a much better option after a while. One of the Havelock's best kept secrets. And of course, carry mineral water from the resort. Tap water is not yet safe for consumption anywhere in Andaman. But for now, safe is this myth that sunflowers also await and anticipate sun's return. Awash in that magical light, as I snapped out of the stunning daily show of nature, every time enacted with different protagonists, I saw another sun was not just one. The adjacent main road is rather a busy one, and with parents nowhere in the vicinity, I wondered what the future on and off roads got in store for them. Brushing everything on the way with the softness of the balmy sea air, they were waiting for the mother. Or maybe not.
इसके आई में कोई छुआ है या आई ब्लू है इसका? ब्लू है।
Puppies may born with blue eyes but experience color change a few weeks later. It often takes 8 to 12 weeks for eye color to settle, and so I realized that these pups were even younger than what I presumed. Mr. Bridget, a police officer from Bihar posted in Havelock Thana, comes every morning here to feed and look after this canine family. He told me that I can't do much, so I buy one packet of milk every morning for them and feed them little rice with boiled egg every evening, post my duty. I'm sure he is not the only animal compassionate policeman in India, and thank God for that. But frankly, compassionate policeman is largely an oxymoron anywhere in this world now. All binful stereotypes that mind accumulated like garbage over the year couldn't possibly leave at one go, because stereotypes don't get created and crystallized out of the thin air. But yes, sure as the sunrise, some generalization got diluted after looking and interacting with this man. I felt a strange lightness of being to know that someone at least regularly checks upon them, because food leftovers and glucose biscuits from flitting tourists aren't enough these days for the mother, and if remain unchecked, both mother and every litter will suffer endlessly. During 2004 tsunami, Friendicos went to Andaman to provide relief, and since then they started sterilization and other programs in islands. Even though they are based in Port Blair, they occasionally visit these islands. I informed Mr. Bridget about it. If you are willing and in a position to help this organization or any other animal welfare organization of your choice, I urge you to do so, because it's always a logistics and operational nightmare to take care of island animals. Still, some people selflessly do so against all odds. The realization that we are not alone even while feeling havelocked a term I coined rather for effect after landing up on this removed place. And that this planet is not meant for only our kind is what makes us truly connected with our surroundings and not act like irresponsible tourists. Otherwise, Havelock is becoming a place where unmarked bus stops near Kalapathar are identified as where the series tree was cut last year. Or you can go for game fishing at the big black rock around the bend with dead corals as a testament of declining biogeography of this landscape. But inert cynicism is stupid. Despair without an effort to repair is lazily selfish. And harboring the idea that today's world is evil and so let the inevitable happen is plain boring. Even when we all resort to these occasionally, we know better because nature does. And that's what, in the guise of I can't do much, but still I do whatever I can, Mr. Bridget has shown me. So I also did whatever I could and decided to spend some time entertaining the dogs and cats I met in this journey. Because when I saw the first pup, it didn't feel like he was looking for food or mumbled sympathy. As if seeing me standing alone in the dark, he just came to keep my company. Or maybe the little one was plain curious. Anyway, as I dared to sing Romeo and Juliet to dogs whom I encountered throughout the trips from south to middle to North Andaman, in hotels, on beaches, and on road, and uploading here betting on my belief that Mark Knopfler will never find out anyway, you hear at your own peril, and hopefully you will get some amusement before I unfold Kalapathar more for you.
Just struck Romeo, sings a Straits serenade, laying everybody low with a love song that he made. Finds a convenient straight line, steps out of the chaise, says something like, "You and me, babe, how about it?" Juliet says, "Hey, it's Romeo. You nearly gave me a heart attack." She's underneath the window. Ella, my boyfriend's back. You shouldn't come around here singing up at people like that. Anyway, what are you gonna do about it? Juliet, the dice was loaded from the start, and I bet that you exploded in my heart, and I forget the movie song. When you gonna realize it was just that the time was wrong? Juliet. Come upon different street. They both were streets of shame. Both dirty, both mean. Yet the dream was just the same. And I dreamed your dream for you. And now your dream is real. How can you look at me as if I was just another one of your dear? When you can fall for chains of silver, you can fall for chains of gold. You can fall for pretty strangers and the promises they hold. You promised me everything. You promised me thick and thin, yeah. And now you say Romeo, yeah. You know I used to have a sin with him. I come to the talk like the talk on TV. And I can do a love song like the way it's meant to be. And I can't do anything, but I do everything for you. And I can't do anything except be in love with you. And all I do is miss is the way you used to be. All I do is keep the bad company. And all I do is kiss you through the bars of rhyme. Julie, I'd do the stars with you anytime. Juliet, when we made love, we used to cry. You said I love you like the stars above. I love you till I die. There's a place for us. You know the movie song. When you gonna realize it was just that the time was wrong. Juliet. A love-struck Romeo sings a Straits serenade, laying everybody low with the love song that he made. Finds a convenient straight light, steps out of the shade, says something like, "You and me, babe, how about it?" For those who survived my singing,
Let me now tell you that if their evolution and domestication wouldn't have happened, I would have spoken about encountering many grey wolf cubs in this island. And it wouldn't have been far-fetched and the myth would have got reinforced, considering the fact that in a book titled Book of Wonders, produced in Paris during the early 15th century, it has been demonstrated that Andaman Islands were inhabited by wolf/dog-headed people. And such posters and books are still available online and sold in online art galleries. If insularity and lack of civilization were constant features in the description of Arctic Highlanders and Smith Sound Eskimos, they were also attributed to Andaman Islanders. However, their fate had been to be originally perceived as hostile and barely human, where Eskimos were perceived as friendly, intelligent, humorous, and totally dependable by disposition. The English social anthropologist Radcliffe Brown met Andaman Islanders. They were already well-known savages of Indian Ocean, only recently been partly tamed by British. I'll speak about this more when I will make a video on how Andaman got its name. And I'll also make a third video on Kalapathar, beyond this part 1 and part 2, which showcases a totally different side of this place, the more alluring, dangerous, and perhaps more fragile side. And this place, according to me, provides you a snapshot in a nutshell about the kind of environmental and ecological disturbances Andaman is facing at this point of time. But otherwise, Kalapathar Beach is devastatingly charming. The Andaman Sea against the backdrop of sunrise with rich tropical dense rainforest cover in the back, the beach Broadway walk strewn with coconut groves, the fantastic intertidal walk throughout the entire strip of beach number 5 starting from Vijayanagar to Kalapathar, known as Backpacker Strip. It will transport you to another world while sea breeze will tingle through your ear. And this is a continuum because you will see how frequently the ocean changes color and even wave patterns here. Join me in this journey called Andamania. And I'm thankful to have you here with me, and more so if you do your bits for the island animals who do not have too many organized social animal welfare groups behind them. Here are quite an interesting place to be, with a regular backpacker to the island speaking about swimming with a turtle a few months ago, while another training about spotting a shark. Oh yes, you will find Bengalis in every other shack and village huts. I have also realized that 70 to 80% of the sunrise crowd vanishes after 9 am without exploring the surrounding, under the pretext of what else to do here. And it's then backpackers and foreigners start making their presence felt with books like music, hammock, some non-alcoholic drink or thukpa, which is originally a Nepali and Tibetan noodle soup and tastes yum, basically hitting a snooze button from the madness of this world. If you are going inside the village after spending time on the beach, which I strongly advocate for, look out for papad on drying sheets in season. Don't hesitate to request villagers for that taste. Usually they will be more than happy to share. What's the big deal? Now here comes the best kept secret. What is the color of a mango that we get to eat in summer? Green or yellow? But have you ever seen a completely red mango? I'm not talking about reddish hue of Alfonso red variety or specially cultivated ones. We are talking natural here. If not, some of you must have heard about the story of Japanese Miyazaki mangoes, which are visibly red in color and are sold at an exorbitant prices, fetching higher rates than even gold and silver jewelry. But it is believed that the Andaman Islands and Burma are the origins of mangoes in Asia. And you have to come here to experience a different and rare variety of this red mango, far from being commercialized, and if luck favors, for free. Another vulnerable, rare and wild variety, smaller than the common mango, Magnifera andamanica, is distributed in Chowdhury and forest of Chiriatap. Edible fruits of this species are consumed locally or made into pickles, preserves, and a good source of vitamins A and C. So instead of having regular armchairs at Kalapathar, I suggest you try your luck with arm pupper inside Kalapathar Village. A woman there shyly offered me the whole sheet while saying, "Take home the best thing from this island." While I was floored by her generosity, I politely refused as I didn't want any hassle at the airport. Also, things do taste totally different in front of a briny horizon. And there are many options around to indulge with delicious seafood too, surrounded by sea mahua, coconut trees, and gentle sway of betel nut plants, witnessing Kalapathar slowly consuming you as it battles with rocks. At low tide, several of these rocks are exposed and tide pools get formed. Diverse groups of animals live attached to rocks, hiding in the crevices or in the tide pools. Mollusks, crustaceans, crabs, sea urchins, sea cucumbers, and rock-boring worms are common at Kalapathar if you walk along the shoreline and pay attention. And if you take an idle stroll inside the village, it not only offers some interesting birding opportunities in the early morning and during the sunset, but even otherwise, covered with paddy fields and tall lush canopies, you may discover the amazing faunistic wealth of Havelock. And yes, of course, it will just bring an unconscious grin on your face when you suddenly overhear a group of travelers gushing at Kalapathar's waves. Is this place truly in India? It's so easy to brush off the reality here and get blinded by its apparently flawless seashore. But if you want to know Kalapathar closely, you need to peel off the layers here as all unique locations demand. Because under this picturesque topography of white and green, Kalapathar is hiding so well. Sea level rise combined with increased sea surface temperatures is altering its interactions with the atmosphere. Ocean-atmosphere interactions determine regional climate patterns, and that's how climate change leads to altered rainfall patterns. Plagued by the frequency and intensity of extreme events like tropical cyclone and tsunami, Kalapathar is mourning too due to a pain what marine biologists call as ecological grief. Ecological grief extends to despair about the inevitability of future change and the resulting intangible loss of intimate knowledge about our landscape. 2004 tsunami was a landmark event that left lasting impacts on the Andaman archipelago in terms of human and habitat losses. Kalapathar's bleached coral reefs couldn't bounce back from that. So I would urge you not to go for underwater activities here, even if local operators offer, because it's extremely vulnerable now and you will not have a great experience anyway. A little away from the main beach, standing on the road, these ants, crafted to slip through the air with ease of feathers, arrested my attention. After all, ants, with their great transoceanic dispersal capabilities, are among the most successful early colonists of Andaman Islands, perhaps only after British Raj. And oh yes, in advance of earthquakes with a larger magnitude of 2.0, which also happens to be the smallest quakes that humans can feel, ant colonies pick up local shifts in Earth's electromagnetic fields, not just when earthquake is imminent, but their behaviors drastically shift at least a day before. Despite decades of research, geologists continue to be unable to predict earthquakes and tsunamis more than a few minutes in advance, obviously not long enough to evacuate people from affected areas. But they reported that by learning to observe ants, billions of lives in future can be saved. With hope hanging on thin air with Kalapathar's beautiful backdrop, with a figure standing tall surrounding a group of confused puppies, with something different cafes staffs showing me a way to experience mangrove kayaking in off-season and offering me their personal data connection as restaurants' Wi-Fi and my data weren't working, with Barefoot's driver asking me whether I would like to see a small untouched Kali temple hidden inside the forest where he was going with his family next morning, with a sunrise that takes you to the brink of complete forgetfulness that you are alive, and with the simplicity of a village woman's excited chuckle to show a plant she raised, a part of me will always remain Havelocked.